The meeting has now started.
Great. So good morning, everyone. I'm President Christine Gould-Sadovi from the Board of Public Utilities. I will be presiding over today's hearing. I don't see my colleagues on the line. Today, we are here to take comments in the matter of the provision of basic generation service for the period beginning June 1st, 2026. The BPU docket number is ER 25040-190. And I will ask our DAG to read a statement regarding the notices for this hearing today. Matt Coe.
Good morning, Madam President. Adequate public notice has been provided pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this hearing has been published in newspapers in broad circulation in the state and with the
So just to set the framework for the subject before us, staff has arranged the following presentations. Just a reminder that final written comments on the BGS procurement are due on October 10th, 2025. These comments should only be used to respond to issues raised in either the initial comments or today's hearing, and they should not be used to raise new issues in this proceedings. So with that, are the EDCs and NERA ready to proceed?
Yes, we are.
Great. Okay. If you're ready, I would ask NERA and the EDCs if you could just identify yourselves with your name and spelling for the court reporter, that would be great. So NERA, do you want to start?
Yes, sure. Good morning, President Gould-Sadovi, and good morning, commissioners. My name is Rachel Northcutt. I'm from NERA. That's RACHEL NORTHCUTT. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Now, NERA has managed the New Jersey BGS auctions since their inception more than 20 years ago. And today I have with me my colleague, also from NERA, Mr. Paul Cardona, as well as representatives from each of the EDCs, specifically Terry Moran from PSE&G, Randy Feit from JCP&L, Diana Novak from ACE, and Chauncey Davis from RICO. Each of these individuals is leading their respective EDC's auction efforts. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to address the board this morning, and the EDCs will be filing final comments on October 10th that will fully address the issues that were raised in the initial comments. During today's presentation, we'll focus on explaining the main elements of the EDC's proposal. This will be the 25th year that the EDCs have submitted a proposal for the procurement of electric supply for BGS customers through a statewide auction process. The EDCs recognize and acknowledge that the rising cost of energy and capacity has increased rates for BGS customers. While acknowledging difficult current market conditions, the EDCs maintain that the core elements of the joint proposal continue to encompass the most appropriate method for procuring BGS supply for New Jersey's BGS customers. The EDCs continue to propose two auctions, the first being the BGS CIEP auction. That's the BGS Commercial and Industrial Energy Pricing Auction. This is to procure supply for larger commercial and industrial customers, and the EDCs continue to propose that the CIEP threshold be set to 500 kW. Winning suppliers in the BGS CIP auction serve BGS CIP load for 1 year. So BGS CIP customers are served through supply procured at a single auction. The second auction is the BGS RSCP auction. That's the BGS Residential Small Commercial Pricing Auction. And this is to procure supply for residential and smaller commercial customers. Supply is procured on a 3-year rolling basis so that customers at any given point are served supply procured from 3 different auctions. This term averaging allows small customers to be protected from the volatility of short-term markets while still paying rates that reflect the market. And in both auctions, supply is procured for all EDCs at once, so that each auction has 4 products, where a product is the BGS load for a given EDC. And all BGS customers retain the right to shop at all times. Today, we'll discuss 6 key elements of the EDC's proposal. That's the product, the standard contract, rate design, the auction format, the bidder interface, and competitive safeguards that are exercised in the auctions. The first element is the product, where the EDC's proposal maintains the product as a full requirements service for both BGS RSCP and BGS CIEP. This means that aside from the EDCs continuing to be responsible for transmission, BGS suppliers will continue to have load serving responsibility for BGS load, and BGS suppliers will be physically and financially responsible for the hour-by-hour provisions of the electricity to BGS customers. And the full requirements product will continue to include capacity, energy, ancillary services, as well as obligations to fulfill New Jersey's renewable portfolio standards and any other services that may be required by PJM. Each BGS supplier will assemble its own portfolio of products that it believes will make the best bid and provide price risk management services. Through the auction, competitive discipline is brought to bear on the cost of managing the BGS supply portfolio. The BGS auction process is designed to select the most effective portfolio managers. And in this way, New Jersey BGS customers can be expected to benefit from competitive market prices when BGS suppliers bring the full gamut of supply strategies to bear on managing the BGS supply portfolio, including purchases to satisfy New Jersey's renewable portfolio standards. The competitive discipline of the market selects those entities that are best at this management function. The full requirements product is fully consistent with the DECA's preference for reliance on competitive forces, as placing the portfolio acquisition and price risk management in the hands of competitive entities is consistent with the state's policy to rely on competitive markets. The BGS auctions have consistently attracted a diverse set of suppliers. These suppliers are an accomplished group of portfolio managers that are disciplined by market forces. The full requirements product bought at the auction obtains a price for BGS that, when combined with the transmission charge paid by BGS customers, provides the best basis for price comparisons against third-party supplier rates and helps create an efficient retail marketplace in New Jersey. And finally, the rolling procurement structure for smaller commercial and residential customers through the BGS RSCP auction provides a proper balance between reflecting current market prices and protecting those customers from market volatility. And now I'll stop here and I will hand things over to my colleague, Paul.
Thank you, Rachel. Good morning, President Gosudovi. Good morning, commissioners. As Rachel mentioned, my name is Paul Cardona from NERA. That's PAULCARDONA. And I appreciate the opportunity to appear in front of you here today. The second element of the EDC's proposal is a standard contract, and the basic structure and terms of that standard contract have been maintained from prior years. As in prior years, during the application process, BGS suppliers must agree to the terms of the standard contract that is approved by the board. The standard contract is entered into by each EDC with the supplier it's supplying that EDC, and enables a uniform set of obligations in New Jersey across all 4 EDCs. The standard contract also includes uniformly applied creditworthiness requirements and financial guarantees. And importantly, the standard contract enables a transparent price-only identification of winning bids, and there's no subjectivity in selecting bidders, winning bidders. And prior to moving on to the next element, I'd like to highlight one additional element of the BGS RSCP Supplier Master Agreement, or SMA, included in the EDC's proposal, which is the use of capacity proxy prices. Since the 2020 proceeding, the board, excuse me, Rachel, thank you. Since the 2020 proceeding, The board approved the use of capacity proxy prices, as the actual capacity prices for some delivery years in the supply period were not known prior to those auctions. At this time, capacity prices continued to be unknown, and to avoid excessive premiums and BGS bids, the EDCs again proposed to set capacity proxy prices this year for energy years 2028 and 2029, to the extent that the capacity prices determined through PJM's base residual auctions for those energy years are not known at least 5 business days prior to the start of the BGS RSCP auction. In their proposal, the EDCs accounted for a now observed significant increase in the price for capacity in PJM relative to previous energy years. Consistent with past practice, the proposed method for determining capacity proxy prices for energy years 28 and 29 uses the most recent prices for capacity in PJM. As briefly mentioned on the previous slide, the supplements included in the BGS RSCP SMA would be voided if the results of the applicable BRA are known at least 5 business days prior to the start of the BGS RSCP auction. This is actually already the case for energy year 2027, as the results of the 2026-2027 BRA became available in July after the EDCs filed their proposal. The results of the BRA for energy year 2028 are expected to be made available in December 2025. Assuming no delay in releasing those results, the EDCs propose to update the values for capacity proxy prices for energy years 29 to be equal to the BRA for the 2028 energy year if the results for the BRA for energy year 2028 are known at least 5 business days ahead of the BGS RSCP auction. Under the supplements and the proposed BGS RSCP SMA, the BGS RSCP supplier would be paid or would pay the difference between the PJM rate for capacity and the capacity proxy price for each of energy year 28 and energy year 2029 as applicable. The rate design is also a key element of the EDC's BGS proposal and allows BGS rates to be market-based and to reflect final auction prices. Beginning with the 2021 BGS auctions, as Rachel mentioned, the EDCs are responsible for transmission, and each EDC shows a separate transmission charge. As provided in each EDC's company-specific addendum, the rate design specifies how rates would be adjusted for capacity proxy prices in energy years 28 and 29, should the supplements in the BGS RSCP supplier master agreement be used. As in the past, the EDCs request that the rate design be approved in advance by the board. This is important as bidders use the rate design to assess migration risks and to prepare their bids. While the rate design would be approved in advance by the board, calculations would be refreshed approximately 10 business days prior to bids being due with the latest data from PJM. Lastly, each EDC's company-specific addendum contains a status update and proposal regarding each EDC's direct current fast charging program. The fourth element of the EDC's proposal is the auction format itself. Consistent with prior years, the auction format is proposed as a descending clock auction, which is a multi-round and multi-product design. The format is multi-product because loads from all 4 EDCs are simultaneously procured within each auction. It is a multi-round format, as over several bid rounds, bidders submit bids and receive information regarding those bids, and then bidders have an opportunity to bid again at a lower price in a subsequent round. As the auction progresses and one round leads to the next, bidders know that they must submit a bid at a lower price in order to win at the auction. Competition among the suppliers drives the prices in the auction down to levels that are consistent with the market. This objective method of selecting winners through the auction process provides for transparency that maximizes participation and thus minimizes prices. At a practical level, the auction is conducted online so that bidders submit bids using a web-based interface. The ways in which various information is communicated and made available to bidders encompasses the fifth element of the EDC's proposal. The auction manager ensures the interface with bidders. This means that the auction manager is the one to interact with and provide information to bidders, and we do this in several ways. We maintain a BGS auction website that serves as the central source of information about the auctions. We also host several webcasts, the first of which is scheduled for October, a second will be held in November, and a third will be held for registered bidders in January. We also provide bidders an opportunity to practice submitting their bids in the web-based interface using 2 training sessions that are set to occur in January. The auction manager responds to bidder questions and makes available the resulting questions and answers on the BGS auction website. And the auction manager also processes bidder applications and works to establish a qualified field of bidders for the auction itself. Lastly, the sixth element of the proposal is the inclusion of a set of competitive safeguards. I mentioned earlier that the auction format is designed so that the competition amongst suppliers drives prices down to levels that are consistent with the market. In addition to the auction format, there are a set of competitive safeguards to further promote competition in the auction. One of these safeguards includes provisions to adjust the auction volume to ensure a competitive bidding environment. A second is the use of low caps, which are limits on the amounts that any bidder may bid and win in the auction. This limits credit risk for customers and prevents large bidders from unduly influencing the results of the auction. Lastly, there are specific association rules that are designed to prevent collusion amongst bidders. With respect to roles throughout the auction process, there are well-defined roles for the auction manager, EDCs, the board, and the board's consultant. The auction manager is responsible for carrying out auction promotional efforts, communicating information, organizing responses to bidder questions, and administering the auction in accordance with the auction rules that are approved by the board. The board's consultant oversees the conduct of the auction and briefs the board during the auction process. The board monitors the auction and reviews and renders a decision on the final auction results. We look forward to working with the board's consultant and board staff as representatives of the board to reach key decisions on the auction, such as starting prices, as well as working with them while they observe the auctions. Thank you, President Golsodovi, and thank you, Commissioners, for your time here today. I'll now pass the presentation back to Rachel to provide closing remarks.
Paul.
Thanks, Paul. To conclude today's presentation, as in prior years, we request that the board approve the auction process as filed by the EDCs. We request that the board continue to follow a procedure that will enable it to render a decision on the auction results within 2 business days of the close of the auction. And as in prior years, we request that the rate design be established prior to the auction. And finally, we request that the board approve the contingency plan, cost recovery, and accounting treatment set forth in each company's specific addendum. Thank you, President Golsodovi, and thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Thanks, Nira. Next, we have Ace.
My name's Diana Novak, D-I-A-N-A, last name N-O-V-A-K. I am with Atlantic Electric and available for any questions.
Okay. If there are no questions, we will move on. JCP&L. Randy.
Yes, good morning. My name is Randy Feicht with JCP&L. That's spelled R-A-N-D-Y F-E-U-C-H-T. And I'm here to take on any questions on behalf of JCP&L.
Great. Okay. Moving to PSE&G, Terry.
Hi, good morning. Terry Moran, T-E-R-R-Y-M-O-R-A-N. PSE&G has no specific comments, but like the others, available for any questions.
And finally, Rico. Thanks.
So we'll use the rate check.
Chauncey Davis, C-H-A-U-N-C-E-Y, Davis, D-A-V-I-S, and I'm here to answer any questions on behalf of Rico.
Thank you. I myself don't have any questions. I will open it up to, I think Commissioner Baines is on if he has questions.
No, I'm good right now. Thank you.
Okay. And any board staff that may have questions.
No questions from staff.
Okay, thank you. In that case, we will move on to the Division of Rate Counsel for any remarks, and that is Rob Glover. If you could introduce yourself with their spelling of your name.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioner Baines, staff, stakeholders. My name is Robert Glover. It's R-O-B-E-R-T-G-L-O-V-E-R. And I'm an Assistant Deputy Rate Counsel with the New Jersey Division of Rate Counsel. I want to thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today on behalf of New Jersey ratepayers regarding the 2026 BGS proposal submitted by the electric distribution companies, or EDCs. Rate Council filed initial written comments with the board in this matter. Our comments today focus on the EDC's proposed continuation of certain temporary measures in the 2026 BGS process and the initial comments of NextEra Energy Marketing, or NextEra. In our initial written comments, we discussed the EDC's request that they be allowed to continue to use capacity proxy prices for the 2027, 2028, and 2028, 2029 delivery years. As noted in Rate Council's prior BGS comments, PJM's capacity auctions have been delayed due to prolonged regulatory uncertainty at the federal level. Based on this, the EDCs argue that potential BGS RSCP suppliers may include risk premiums into their bids or choose not to participate altogether if the capacity price is not known prior to the auction. To address this concern, the EDCs propose to extend the use of a capacity proxy price in the BGS RSCP SMA to include currently unknown base residual auction, or BRA, prices for the 2027, 2028, and 2028, 2029 delivery years, since those auctions have not yet occurred at this time. Currently, PJM is scheduled to hold the 2027-2028 BRA auction in December 2025 and the 2028-2029 BRA auction in June 2026. The EDCs propose utilizing the capacity proxy price if the BRA results are not known at least 5 business days prior to the EDC's BGS RSCP auction. Since the 2028-2029 BRA will occur well after the February 2026 BGS auction, the capacity proxy price will likely be an element of the 2026 BGS proposal. Given the mismatch between the BGS auction and the 2028-2029 capacity auction, and the consistency of the EDC's continued use of a capacity proxy prices with the EDC's treatment of unknown capacity prices in last year's BGS auction, Rate Council does not object to the extension of the capacity proxy price for the 2028-2029 delivery year. Regarding the 2027-2028 delivery year, Rate Council believes that absent significant additional delays, the 5 business days advance notice of the BRA is sufficient for bidders seeking to participate in the 2026 BGS auction. Therefore, Rate Council supports the EDC's 5-day trigger for canceling the capacity proxy price for the 2027-2028 delivery year. Further, regarding the use of a remote auction platform, Rate Council is in favor of reducing administrative costs associated with the physical BGS auction office while the auctions are being conducted remotely. While Rate Council does not object to the EDC's continuation of the remote auction process proposal, the security and integrity of the auction process must be maintained. So, while Rate Council appreciates the minor administrative efficiencies achieved by a remote auction, Rate Council believes that board approval of a remote auction should be conditioned on it finding that the integrity of the auction process can be maintained under this process. NextEra provided initial comments on the 2026 BGS. NextEra raises 2 issues with the 2026 BGS auction process. First, NextEra highlights the potential ambiguity and language in the BGS RSCP Supplier Master Agreement, since there is no mention of emergency actions undertaken through Section 202C of the Federal Power Act. Section 202C grants the Secretary of Energy temporary authority over the operation of the electricity system during emergencies. In May 2025, the Department of Energy, or DOE, exercised its emergency authority to postpone the retirement of the 820 megawatt Eddystone Unit 3 and Unit 4 plants in Pennsylvania. The Emergency Authority provides waivers over federal, state, and local environmental regulations for a period of 90 days, with additional 90-day renewals as long as DOE deems the renewals necessary to address the emergency. NextEra highlights 3 potential impacts of Section 202C on the BGS process that could introduce risk for BGS suppliers. NextEra references regulatory uncertainty, precedential risk, and cost recovery ambiguity. NextEra is concerned that the current language of the BGS RSCP supplier agreement does not specify the treatment of Section 202C costs, such that those costs may be allocated to BGS suppliers. NextEra is concerned that the risks associated with Section 202C costs would be incorporated into BGS supplier risk premiums. NextEra recommends that costs associated with any DOE emergency orders issued under Section 202C be explicitly excluded from BGS supplier responsibilities to ensure appropriate risk allocation and prevent the addition of unnecessary risk premiums. While Rate Counsel is unable to verify whether and to what extent risk premiums are being added by any particular bidder, uncertainty around bidder responsibility for these costs could conceivably cause less bidder participation in the auction. Less participation in the auction is unlikely to benefit BGS customers. Accordingly, at this time, Rate Counsel does not oppose such clarification since the DOE's Section 202C actions are beyond the control of BGS suppliers and impact all ratepayers. Second, NextEra recommends more frequent and additional information regarding New Jersey municipal aggregation enrollment. NextEra would like to be provided with monthly information about municipal aggregations or information on what municipal aggregations are active or will become active. It is unclear if monthly information can be made available for BGS suppliers or if it will be useful to BGS suppliers, since participation activity is variable from month to month. That said, Rate Counsel does not object to further review of this issue for consideration in future BGS auctions. This concludes my comments today. Thank you again for the opportunity to appear before you on behalf of New Jersey ratepayers.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Any comments from my colleagues? Questions on Rob's presentation?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
No, not from me either.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, anything from staff?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Rob. So those are the only presentations that we have. And so I thank everyone for their time and participation. I just want to remind everyone that the final written comments for the BGS procurement proceeding are due on October 10th by the close of business, October 10th, 2025 by close of business. And that these comments should only be responding to the issues raised in initial comments or those that are raised in today's hearings. They should not be used to raise new matters in this proceeding. And so I will now close the hearing. Thank you all for being here today and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.